Now, what exactly is a business entity? It's an organization formed for the purpose of conducting business. Now, 5 of the most common business entities that you probably are familiar with is going to be sole proprietorships, partnerships, LLCs or limited liability companies. You have S corporations and you have C corporations if you're taking the incorporated route. Now, for the purpose of this video, since the majority of you guys were reaching out to me asking me, what would you do with the brand new LLC? That's exactly what we are going to be using as the case study for this video. Now, there's 6 important things that goes into forming a business entity properly. I want to give them to you right now. First up is the business name. This is going to be the name that you select when you register your business. So let's say if you have Irv's Ice Cream Shop and I'm doing an LLC, it'll be Irv's Ice Cream Shop Limited Liability Company or Irv's Ice Cream Shop LLC. That's the naming convention of the business that we're selecting. Next, we have the entity selection, which we kind of just hinted at, which is going to be the organization formed for the purpose of conducting business. Again, for the purpose of this example, we're going to be using an LLC. The third part of forming a business entity is going to be the business location. This is where your business will be established. So if I'm opening up a business in Florida, then that's known as a domestic entity, meaning the home base or the headquarters for that entity. If I decide to open up my business, my LLC here in Florida, and then I also decide to want to do business in, let's say, Nevada, then the foreign entity that's also a part of my main entity, that's known as a foreign entity, that's going to be established in Nevada. But again, for the purpose of this example, we're just going to be using a domestic entity. Fourth is the employer identification number, also known as the EIN. This is the social security number for your business given to you by the IRS or the Internal Revenue Service. Again, this is going to be the number that you're going to use when you're applying for business credit lines or when you're opening up business bank accounts. This EIN is going to follow everywhere that the business goes. And so when, again, you're applying for a business credit line, all that debt that's going to get reported under that EIN is what's ultimately going to get reported also to the business credit bureaus. And this is how you start building up business credit on behalf of that LLC. Number 5 is going to be your formation documents. This is going to be your articles of organization and your operating agreements. Now, the articles of organization break down basic information about your business, such as the name, address, and the LLC members, while the operating agreement breaks down how the business will be ran and who's doing what. So if there's more than one member, assuming you're not a single member LLC, then maybe your business is going to have split ownership, meaning maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 51-49. That percentage of who's doing what in the business is what the banks are going to want to know. And that's also what they're going to take a look at based off of what you put inside of the operating agreement. And the 6th thing that you want to have in place when you're forming a business entity is going to be a business bank account. Now, this bank account is what's going to be used to receive funds and process transactions specific to the business. So you're not going to be using this account to float personal funds through, to float anything that you're doing on the personal side with your personal life. This is only going to be held for business transactions to hold funds specific for your business. And this is how you start separating your business from your personal assets and your personal liabilities. Now, if you're wondering what's the point of this, here's what having this in place is going to do. Having the business set up properly is what allows you to work with banks and lenders to get capital for your business. Not being able to set up a business properly is one of the fastest disqualifiers used to deny people and quote unquote businesses from getting credit. Now, quick side note, if you've been operating as a sole proprietor and you're thinking about switching to maybe an LLC, the faster you can make that switch, the faster you're able to start reaping the benefits of having your business set up as a limited liability company. One of the reasons for that is we saw a business owner who was able to essentially set up their business. They started running it. They were able to get access to $120,000 worth of business credit solely on the sole proprietorship side. When they try to transfer all of that over to the LLC because they finally said, okay, it's now time to make the jump. The bank said, since you're now creating a separate entity, it's practically a brand new business at that point that's technically seen as year one for that business. They weren't able to essentially transfer all of the credit that they had available for that business already to the LLC. So what they actually ended up doing, since it was the same line of work, it was the same business owner, they actually ended up shutting down all of those accounts altogether. So this person, unfortunately, had to start from scratch. Now that is case by case and it may or may not happen to you. But again, if you're on the fence on whether or not you should maybe open up an LLC, if it makes sense for your business, which in my case, it almost always does, go ahead and make that switch. So that way, as you're building business credit, you're able to properly build up the age so that you don't have to go back later and say, man, I have to restart this thing all over again and lose all of that work that you put on.